Okay, we're on page 307, and we are dealing with solving algebraic equations, and we are still talking about opposite land. When you look at this problem, it's number 2 on page 307. It's 16 plus x equals 42. So 16 plus x equals 42. What I need to do is, because they are adding 16, first I want to make sure I draw my lines. Because they are adding 16, I'm going to subtract 16. And basically what happens is I get the x by itself. If I'm subtracting 16 on this side, I need to go ahead and subtract 16 on the other side. And if I take 42 minus 16, I'm going to, got to do it correctly. I'm going to borrow 12 minus 6 is 6, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So I get x to be equal to 26. Now, I should go back in and check my work to make sure that I have done it correctly. Again, I draw that line under there so we understand this is the original problem. The original problem, we think x is worth 26. So I'm going to write 26 right over top of the x. Now, does this make sense? 16 plus 26 equals 42. Well, off to the side, I better make sure that I know that 16 plus 26 equals 42. And once I work it out, boom, I have checked it. I know my answer is correct. Now, on the previous lesson, we did a whole bunch of adding algebra problems. Now on page 307, number 5, we're actually subtracting algebra problems. Now, just because they have fractions involved does not mean our method changes. This number 5 is z minus 1/3 equals 2/3. Well, how do I get the variable by itself? They're subtracting a third. I want to add a third. Minus third plus a third gives me a big fat 0. I get the z by itself, and then I added a third on this side. I have to make sure I add a third on the other side. 1/3 plus 2/3 gives me 3/3. I end up with 1 and 3/3. Z equals 1 and 3/3. Now, the proper way of saying that improper fraction would be 2. Now, when we check our work, it's kind of nice to go back and actually use 1 and 3/3, because this will actually make the problem that much easier. If I'm doing 2 minus a third, you still should be able to get 1 and 2/3. But in this case, if you take 1 and 3/3 minus a third, 3 minus 1 equals 2. Our bottom number stays the same. 1 minus 0 would be 1 and 2/3. So I went back and I did my check, and my answer is correct. It is 2, because I did get my answer of 1 and 2/3 when I went back and checked my work. Decimals, just because there's a decimal involved does not mean anything. What we have been doing is going to change. Here comes number 7. 25.3 equals W minus 14.9. Okay, what is happening in the problem? They are subtracting 14.9. I need to do the opposite, which is add 14.9. I need to add 14.9 on the other side. I get my W by itself. I need to add this up, line up your decimals, and hopefully you will get 40.2. So add 14.9 on one side, make sure you add 14.9 on the other side. You're going to get your answer of 40.2 equals W. When I am done, I cannot forget, I need to check my work. Here is my original problem. I've got 40.2. I'm going to plug that in. It's 40.2 minus 14.9 equals 25.3. If you would like to work it out, 40.2 minus 14.9, 3, 9, 5, and borrow, that would be 2, 25.3. And that is the answer that I need to come up with.